Yay, we are live. Happy Tuesday, besties and bosses. How are you all doing? While I am getting this going, I'm going to pull this up. Gotta say, it is a cloudy day here in the city, so I feel like I'm sitting in the shadows. But I've got my ring light, so we've got some light. But I don't know. I know there's a hurricane heading down south. I'm in New York City, so I don't know if that's why the weather's been a little funky. I feel like the internet's been funky all day. All the Zoom calls have been funky. So we'll see how the technology works. But right now it seems like it's working, and we'll see if we can pull up the group. I'd love to know how you are doing, how your summer is going. Here we go. I had a lovely weekend. This is not all we're going to talk today about how to discern between shiny marketing and getting the right fit support. But I actually just recorded a podcast episode and shared this. I got to share. It was a kind of a fun manifesting story. I will share that real quick, and then we'll talk the good stuff about how to understand what is just shiny marketing and what is good marketing, but also with a good support product service on the back end, and some of the things we look at, some of the things I encourage clients to look at. We'll dig into all of that, but really fun manifesting story real quickly. My husband's very good childhood friend was in town this weekend, and we had dinner plans with him and his wife, and we wanted to take them to Dumbo House, which is the social kind of creative club I'm a member at, where I host my in-person VIP days. There's a beautiful terrace restaurant that has a view of Manhattan, but also the Manhattan and Brooklyn Bridge. It's just like, it's just so lovely. So I made a reservation, or tried to make a reservation for us to have dinner there, the four of us, but it's the summer and it's the weekend. It's a popular place. So it's completely booked. And I did that thing where you like refresh, refresh, refresh. And I finally got a reservation, but it was inside the restaurant. I was like, well, I'll take it because it's full. We want somewhere to go, but I like hope we can sit outside. And so, you can put a note with reservations. I just put a request that we had people in town, and I would love to give them a table outside with a great view, and just kind of like put it out there and just like surrendered it to the universe. So as you know, with manifesting, you want to have that desire, you want to know what you want, you want to have that intention, you want to take your action, and then let it go, sort of surrender. Well, what's really interesting what happened, I swear this is a short story, then I'll get into the actual live stream today, but I think it's a good manifesting lesson. The day of our dinner reservation, two things happened. One, I got a notification from Soho House, which is where Dumbo House is, and there's live music happening. There's a performer that's going to be performing at the club, which is really fun and really cool. However, we're in our 40s. We want to have a conversation. It means it's going to be very loud. And so my thought was like, oh, that's going to be lovely. Like, we're going to have fun no matter what. But man, I like really hope we can sit outside. How lovely would that be, just because we'll be able to hear each other more. And then at the same time, around the same time, my husband's good friend who we're having dinner with lets us know his wife's got a little bit of heat exhaustion. She's going to stay at the hotel for the night to relax. And we were bummed, obviously, not to see her, but it's going to be 3 instead of 4. So I go into our reservation and I change it to 3 people instead of 4. And we're like, well, whatever happens, we'll have fun, or we'll go to another spot if we need to, if it's too loud. Kind of let it go again. I kid you not, an hour before dinner, I get a notification that our reservation has been changed. We walk in, and not only have we, because we're now 3 instead of 4, it's like funny how things rearrange to work in your favor. Not only have they moved us to a table that opened up because someone canceled outside, but we were only able to get it because it was a table for 3 instead of 4. And it happens to be the best table on the patio with like this unobstructed view of the city. And it's like, the Brooklyn Bridge is all lit up and the city is there, and it's like New York City, there's not a lot of space, but it's like there's no one around us, and it's this gorgeous table. But we kind of only got it because there were 3 of us, and because I had put that note in before. So I thought it was just such a good example of how sometimes we can manifest the things we want when we know what we want, when we have that positive expectation, we take that action to put in the message, but also that unexpected things sometimes shift and rearrange, and things that seem like they might be bad, like someone not being able to join, sometimes things just really do work in our favor. So I thought that was kind of a fun manifesting story, and also what we were up to this weekend. All right, that's not what we're talking about today, but I thought that was fun to share. Today, we are going to talk all about how to get past shiny marketing and find the right fit support. I think this is always an important conversation, but I think it is an especially important conversation right now. I was having actually, before we dig in, we always do a giveaway on these live streams, and in honor of this conversation, I do have a coaching spot opening up and some intensives opening up this fall, but either way, I want to keep putting my money where my mouth is and to open my fully booked calendar up to you with some free coaching sessions. We're not going to open up as many as we did in the past because I may or may not have offered too many, but I do want to be of service. I do want to put my money where my mouth is. So we're going to open up some mini coaching sessions. I'll drop a link for that for y'all So we will have that. We will open those up on a limited basis, and particularly if you're interested in finding out what it would be like to work together and seeing if we do have coaching chemistry and seeing if you are a fit for. I do think the one-on-one spot might be about to go because I just talked to someone, but there will be other spots that open up, and we definitely have some coaching intensives opening up. I will drop a link for that, and instead of one giveaway today, we usually do one giveaway to one of my mini courses. That will be first come, first serve. So we will drop that, and we'll have a couple of those opportunities in the group for as long as we're able to. I'm going to do my best to at least have one or two of those a month ongoing for a little while, because I do think it is just really important right now, and it's really in service of what we're talking about today as well. Hey Katie, how are you? I think you mean the manifesting conversation when you say love this. I feel like it's so aligned with, spoiler alert, Katie's coming on to the podcast. I feel like we had a really good manifesting conversation. Okay, so all the manifesting conversations, all the free things aside, let's talk what I want to talk about today. So this is something I was actually having a conversation with my coach about. I think this is always a relevant conversation, but I was chatting with my coach about, I have been working with my coach for 5 years plus at this point. And if I were to have to look for a business coach today, I would be so, frankly, overwhelmed. I literally don't know where I would start, because it is just overwhelming as fuck in the online space, excuse my French, but everybody is shouting. Everybody is saying pretty much the same thing. Everyone is promising the same thing. Everyone is talking about the same thing, and that's fine. Like, I think in some ways we do have to talk about similar things. We're all business coaches, right? But I was just like, wow, it would be really tough for me. And especially at this stage of business, I mean, it'd be tough at any stage of business, but at this stage of business, I almost feel like it's that much more important to me. We've talked about this on the podcast. I'm really mindful of who I allow affect my thinking, who gets to mess with my thinking. I think coaching so often someone's messing with your thinking, who I trust to give me support in my business. And I'm holding we have 20 to 25 clients at any given time in my business, and I'm holding clients. I hold a team that I'm responsible for paying every month. We have quite a lot that I'm responsible for, so it is really important to me who I'm going to have support me, both on a team standpoint to run this business and also coaching. And so we were just talking about, like, gosh, it would just be challenging at this stage, especially knowing what I do now, which is I have so many people come to me who tell me that they've been taught by people to lie about numbers, or that they have been taught by people to basically do things that aren't fair, or the things I'm hearing. I do not want to make this a conversation about what is wrong in our industry, but I feel like I hear something from a client or from someone in my mastermind almost every day that just absolutely blows my mind in terms of some of the grooming we're seeing online, or what people are teaching, that you shouldn't, ask for questions. You shouldn't ask questions or ask for social proof or ask for testimonials, and that makes you a bad client. Or if you're a bad coach, or you're a bad service provider, if you have to hop on a sales call, or, I don't know. There's quite a bit of things that I've been hearing that just make my brain explode a little bit. So I just want to normalize literally having this conversation. I just want to empathize with, first and foremost, anyone who is looking for support right now. Not to say it's impossible to find great support. I think there's so many people who are who they say they are, and there's lots of great support from coaches to, like what Katie does with the money support, from VAs and OBMs and designers. There's so many people who are who they say they are and who are really great, but oftentimes they're not the loudest marketers in the online space. So that's why I want to have this conversation today, because I don't want to hate on the industry, because that doesn't do us any good, but I do think maybe it's helpful to have some tools in our toolbox in terms of how to discern what is shiny marketing that is very easy to get sucked into, and how do you actually find the right fit support, and also to know that there are people who can be both. People can have shiny marketing and also be really great at what they do. But as someone who is investing, and also as someone who is marketing and selling, really understanding what goes into that. So I want to dig into that. I'm going to talk a little bit about the important mindset as a CEO to think through as you're hiring, so you're not giving your power away. I'm going to talk a little bit also on the marketing side of things as a CEO, your responsibility, because I do think there is a responsibility we have that I think sometimes we forget. And I think we forget this not because people are crappy people. I think honestly, sometimes this gets forgotten because there is a lack of belief or trust in marketing. I'm going to get into that a little bit, and then I will actually go through some of the things I literally consider when looking for support, whether it is a virtual assistant or a coach, what I'm looking for, some of the things we filter for, some of the things that have nothing to do with experience necessarily, and what are some of my red flags. And I use this outside of business as well. I think many of you know I work with an EMDR therapist, and I adore EMDR, but I've been doing it for a while. I'm thinking I might want to change up the kind of therapy I do because I feel like I've healed a lot of the trauma that I've worked through. And so even that I'm kind of going through this process all over again in that way. And so these are the same things I look for, if it's not directly my business, but just anyone who's going to support me and my brain and my body, right? For a doctor as well. So that is what we're going to dig into. I hope this is really valuable for you all. This is for you. So if you have questions now, we're on the replay for me. If you have something where you're like, what do you think about this? Or on the selling side, like, what do you think about this? Just feel free to drop it in the comments. I want this to be something that serves you both from, again, the hiring perspective, but also for you as a business owner on the selling side of things. Okay, let me just pull my notes because I have a lot I want to say, and otherwise I will just go off on tangents for 45 minutes, as y'all know. Let's actually start first, because I think this is maybe helpful just to level set the responsibility that comes with marketing and why this is actually evidence that marketing works. So I think what is helpful to remember is that marketing does work. Marketing works, right? Most marketing strategies, if you have not like any strategy in the world, but if you have a strategy that is a legitimate marketing strategy and you have some clear messaging, especially if you're really focusing on marketing does work. Marketing is based on psychology and us humans and how us humans respond and what our subconscious drivers are and pulls are. And when you take a look at big corporations and big businesses, I always seem to use Coca-Cola as an example. I don't know why. I don't even drink Coca-Cola, but we can use them as an example because I think they're used in a lot of marketing books. They spend a gazillion dollars on market research and on brand research to see if this sort of ad, if this sort of message, if this color, if this shade of color, like what different factors if are going to affect how people respond, and if that means people are going to spend more money. There is a wild amount of money spent on this. I mean, I feel like I have to be careful of things I say so I don't get thrown into Facebook jail, but who knows, even as we're talking now, right? Like what's being used for that research, and why would a company like Coca-Cola or any company spend all of this money on market research and on marketing? I used to work in advertising here in New York City. I worked as a director's agent and a junior rep, and with some of the top BBDO, like some of the top agencies here. Why do companies spend wild amounts of money on a single 30-spot ad? Because advertising works. But that also means that as marketers and as advertisers, right? I mean, I think marketing and advertising overlap. I think they are slightly different, but that means we have a responsibility on the selling side. And that means on the client side, we have a responsibility, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. It's not that we have a responsibility. I think the responsibility really lies on the selling side to be in integrity and I always use this example, but it makes me think of the superhero thing where it's like, with great power comes great responsibility. Well, marketing is powerful. With great power comes great responsibility. There are absolutely things any marketer could do to create more manipulation. These are the things that are pissing me off in our space a little bit, where it's like, it is psychological grooming in some ways. As a business owner, as a marketer, I think just seeing that there is an inherent responsibility with that, but not letting that freak you out and psych you out. What I would say is, but what that also tells you is that marketing works. And what I know for my clients is many people more fear that marketing doesn't work and that people aren't listening and that what they're saying doesn't matter and that this isn't going to work for them. And so what I would say with this is, like, the positive piece to this for you as a business owner is this is such evidence that marketing absolutely works if we're having a conversation around the responsibility that is needed because of how powerful it is. But it also means that because it works, we have a responsibility on the selling side to sift through what is an integrity and what is absolutely going to work, but it's just manipulative or grooming or lying, right? So we have that responsibility, but that also means then on the potential client, on the buying side, I don't think it is a client's necessarily full responsibility, but I think we can empower ourselves as clients, whether I'm hiring a virtual assistant or a coach or a website designer. I think if we know that marketing just works, I think we can then also empower ourselves to look past marketing to make our hiring decisions. Now, I also think this means marketing works. So this does not mean don't be good at marketing. This does not mean don't refine your marketing. This doesn't mean stop marketing because there are people who are abusing it. People abuse anything that works, right? That is not what we're saying here. I think marketing is a powerful and beautiful thing. It's just how are we using that power? It's sort of like coaching. Coaching is a powerful, powerful tool. How are you using that tool? That's the case for anything. So I don't want anyone to hear this conversation where it's like, oh, people are being shady, so now I need to stop marketing because that means I might be shady. Please be excellent at marketing. Be a voice for what's true and good in our space, because that also helps change the narrative and create more ease for everyone in this space. But I do think that also means that on the potential client side, when you're making those investment decisions, I think that while it is not fully, I think that's not fair to put all the responsibility on the client or on the buyer at all. I do think what this means is there's an opportunity for us just to be a little more aware. And again, just to simply look past marketing alone. I think what sometimes happens is we only look at marketing. And in either way, right? If you've been burned before, I think it's easy to see shiny marketing, almost decide shiny marketing means it is false or not good and to want to recoil, when shiny marketing could also mean there's a really great product or service on the other side. So I think just not looking blankly at it, but I think it can also mean, again, that we then don't, that we get overwhelmed and don't look past that either. And sometimes the best support for you is not going to be the shiniest marketer in the online space. Hopefully that part makes sense there, because I want to go on to the other pieces, but I do think the other piece that I will say, and this is something I said to one of my clients the other day, I do think what this means though is if you are great at what you do and you have a service you know can help people and you are in integrity and you want to be in business, you want to be a business owner selling that, I really do think this is just, again, evidence not only that marketing works, but I really think it's of service and then your job to lean into marketing and to be as good at it as you're able to be. Not to put pressure on it or to say if you're a healer that all you have to think about is being a marketing guru. That's not what I mean at all. But I think just seeing there's the responsibility is the word I keep thinking of. I think there is a bit of a responsibility if that's something you want to put a dollar sign next to and be in business for, because otherwise there's going to be someone who's simply just really good at marketing but not great at healing, for example, that ends up damaging the industry, where when you're so good at what you do and great at what you do, if you lean into your job as a marketer a little bit, right, that just really helps raise the standard for the entire industry you're in and helps you to serve more people and impact more people, in my opinion. I think it's the same with sales, quite honestly. I do think marketing and sales go together like peanut butter and jelly. They're not exactly the same thing, but they work together very well. No, hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what I look for. And I hope this is valuable for you all. Again, if you have questions, let me know this is making sense as well. But I wanted to walk through because I was thinking like, okay, if I had to hire someone now, what are the things, like how would I filter a hiring or buying decision? I think this is more relevant for me. I'm a very big believer in long-term support and working with the same coach long-term. So I'm not looking for a new coach anytime soon. So no one needs to hit me up for that, because I'm with my coach for life or until she kicks me out. But and most of my team members have been with me for a long time, so I'm not looking for team members at this point either, but from time to time I hire a team. So this is what I'd be thinking through with team members as well. But I'm just going to walk through, I think I have 4 or 5 core things that I really filter for when I'm looking to hire someone. This is what I might be looking for like through with a therapist as well. So I would invite you to use these. These are ways you can look past shiny marketing alone. Again, we're not saying shiny marketing is bad. I'm here for shiny marketing if it's in integrity, but how you can look past that and how you can really take your power back on the client or the potential client side. But as we're talking through these, I want to invite you to also think about these through the lens of a service provider, through the lens of a business owner, and how can you think about implementing some of these things someone might be looking for in your marketing, in your messaging, in your sales process, right? Like how can you use this on both sides? Because if you're a great client and a great buyer, of course that's going to make you a better service or a better marketer, because you then know what someone is looking for. I'm always studying my buying behavior, and I think that can be so valuable for you. So what is going through here, and I'll also share some of my red flags and how I still absolutely make decisions based on gut as well. So it's not like I don't listen to my intuition or gut, but this is what will support my gut decisions. So this is really an obvious one, the first one here, but I think this is one of the ones that when marketing is particularly like glitzy and really good, that can get bypassed and skipped over. And that is really understanding what problem you need to solve in your business or personal life, if you're hiring in your personal life, what gap you need to close, what you specifically need support with, and understanding if who you're speaking to or the program you're looking at, if that solves the problem you have currently, the need you have currently, the desire you have currently. And what I mean by this and what I think happens so often, and this is no one's fault, this is because marketing works, because of how our brains are wired, right? And this is human psychology, but what can happen is if you're not really clear on the specific challenge that you at this stage in your business need to address, the right gap for you to close, or in your personal life, if you're not really clear on that, then really great marketing that helps you to identify a problem that might be there but might not be the right problem for you to address to get what you want is going to really pull on your brain strings and really tap on your pain points and really tap on your desire points and have you really excited about, oh my gosh, I totally have this problem, I totally need this thing. And this is how really smart entrepreneurs end up in 500 different programs. I mean, hey, I will raise my hand. My first year in business, I luckily did not pay for this, but I remember at one point I was this close to buying a course on a Facebook ads when I'm 7.5 years into business and I've never spent any money on Facebook ads. We might look into some for some audience growth, but that's 7.5 years in. This was year one into my business, and I'm like this close to both a Facebook ads course and a Pinterest course. What are two things I don't do in my business? Pinterest and Facebook ads, right? But the marketing was just so great on hitting on my pain points and hitting on the results that I wanted and hitting on those pleasure points for me. And it did such a great job of creating problem awareness. So this is great for you to know, like what works in marketing, all of these things, that it had me in two cases, right? Really thinking about buying programs that didn't address the actual problem I needed to focus on addressing in my business. And so that would be the first thing I would be looking at when I'm sifting through people who sound really great. I would want to first get my eyes back on my own paper. Do I know what problem, what challenge, what desire, right? It doesn't always have to be a problem. Sometimes it's a desire. Do I know what I'm looking for? This is the silly example, but it popped into my mind. If I think about hiring a hairdresser, right? You want to talk about what's daunting is when my hairdresser went on maternity leave and I needed to find a hairdresser because I've shared content about this. I've had some funky hair mess ups and it also costs a lot of money. But at this point, I'm not going back. I've had a neon orange skunk line down my part before. I've had someone burn my hair off. I've been literally burned through the client experience with investing in hair color and hair care. And if we use that as an example, I really needed to know in my colorist went on maternity leave, what was the specific problem, pain point, challenge, desire, what was the specific need I was trying to meet in finding a new colorist? I wanted someone who was really specifically good at blonde hair color, which means that's what I was looking for. So if I found someone who's like, I'm the stylist to Jennifer Aniston, and I gave her that shag cut, which totally isn't in style anymore, but let's just say the thing, that's great, but they do great haircuts, right? That is not what I'm trying to solve. That is not what I need. That doesn't mean that they're not great, and they have the best marketing in the world, but it helps me to look past that marketing because that is not what I need, even though it's in the same realm. I want to look for someone who isn't just good at color, someone who is specifically excellent with blondes and blondes who have fine hair, right? So silly example there, but I think that is one of the things I would invite you to really think about when you're making investments. And that is a way you can look past shiny marketing because great marketing is going to create problem awareness. And that is something you can implement in your marketing, right? Use your marketing to create problem awareness and to speak to people's challenges and to speak to their desires. Really great marketing is going to do that. And our brains are wired to look for problems. It's why, unfortunately or fortunately, if you have marketing, if you have subject lines that are speaking to pain points, they're probably going to get more opens for most audiences than something that is a little more positively directed because our brain is just looking 3-to-1 for negative and our brain is looking for problems to solve. It's how it makes us feel safe, right? So if there's great marketing that is speaking to pain points, even if it is not one that you need to currently solve, if it is one that is even touching on something you're looking for, right? Your brain is just gonna be like that solution, that's the thing we want. It's psychology. So knowing that is kind of how the brain works and that is how marketing works, this is a way you can see past really great marketing, but also see past it in a way so you can discern and where is the great marketing that is also speaking to what I need. Because if I found a hairstylist with great marketing, but she was speaking how great she was at blondes and not frying their hair, who have fine hair, it doesn't, like, that's great that she has great marketing. I'm good for her to have great marketing so I can see her. I want her to. But then I know, but that's actually the problem I'm trying to solve. That's actually the result I'm trying to get. That's the one I want to listen to. So hopefully that makes sense there. I think if you did nothing else but that would help you exponentially in your business. I literally had this conversation with a client today. We were talking about expanding their team, and I think this happens so often. You get excited to bring on team, right? And what's sometimes the thing we want to do is like, this person is really great at copywriting, and like we find like all these people are like, they have this amazing offer and they can do all of this for me in my business, which is great. And that's great if that's what their marketing speaks to, and that's excellent. But if what the problem you're trying to solve in your business is getting time back in your business, and what you really need is someone who has a second set of hands to schedule your content or to make your graphics. It doesn't matter how great someone is at solving the problem of copywriting. It doesn't matter how great someone is at repurposing content. It doesn't matter their amazing plan that they have there. That's literally not solving the problem in your business. So they might have the best marketing and it might be like, oh, but I really want this. That's just how you can start to sift out. It's like, that's just pulling on your heartstrings because it's shiny marketing. It doesn't mean it's bad or false or that they're not in integrity. But the way you get to make a really great hire is going back to, what do I need? What does my business need? What challenges do I need to solve? What challenges does my business need to solve? What do I personally want? What does my business personally want? What is the next right hire for that? That's going to, again, just weed out a lot of the noise there. All right, hopefully that makes sense. If you have questions, throw them at me. Otherwise, I'm going to jump right on to the next one here. So notice here, I'm not even talking about experience yet. Like, this is the first thing here. Like, this will help you weed out so much. Similarly, this is one of the reasons I do like to offer free coaching calls when I'm able to. It's such a great way for both of us to see what do you actually need support within your business, and is my coaching support the right fit for that? I think I'm an excellent coach, but I'm an excellent coach if you have the problems in your business that I help solve, or if you're looking for certain things in your business that I help clients achieve. If we're just going to use the Facebook ads example, if you're looking for someone to support you with Facebook ads, I have great working knowledge. I can tell you if that makes sense for you to start implementing or not. But if you want the like technical nitty gritty, right? Like, I'm just not going to be the best support. And it's so great for us to get to know that. Anyway, I'll go on to the next one. Otherwise, I'll be talking at y'all for 45 gazillion minutes on that. So the next thing I want to look at, so whether this is a virtual assistant, a coach, a new therapist I'm looking at, I really want to look at, do our values align? Specifically with any business hires, what I really want to know is, do we think about business in the same way? Now, a couple of things here. First, this actually matters to me more than experience. With my coach, I think she's an excellent coach. I think we've also grown together, and I think I've become a better client. I think I've always been a great client, but I think I've learned more how to ask for support so she can support me better and better over time. But I know we have similar values, and I know we think about business in a similar way, and I think that's why we do such great work. I know when I'm even screening for right fit clients, right? This goes on the other side for me as well. It's really important to me to work with right fit clients. It doesn't mean I always get it perfectly, but I'm really looking for, does this person have values that align with me, or do we see business in a similar way? If we don't see business in the same way, or if we don't think about business in the same way, it doesn't matter how great I am at what I do, I'm not going to be able to support this person because we're just going to be clashing. We're going to be like oil and vinegar, oil and water, in I guess both in that way. Right. So, and it doesn't, and I'm just going to be trying to convince them of things, or they're going to be trying to convince me of things. And so I think it's just one of those things where this is in many ways even more important than experience, because we need to have that piece first, particularly if you're hiring for support in your business. Now, of course, if I hire a virtual assistant, do they need to like high level think about business the way I do? No, but I want to know that our values align. I want to know that I like them. my team members, I love them, but they've been on my team for a long time, right? I'm paying them regularly. They're intimately touching parts of my business. Many times they're representing me in certain things. Like, it matters to me that our values align. It matters to me that I like them as people, and like they feel like a part of my family in many ways because of the work we're doing together. And while I don't need them to think exactly the way I do about business, I want to know that we have some alignment in terms of how we're thinking about business overall. Otherwise, again, we're probably just going to have a tough time being on the same team together. If I believe clients come first and that we serve clients really well and that's like a high priority, and someone on my team just doesn't understand that or see that the same way, they could be excellent at, let's say, creating graphics, or excellent at scheduling emails, or excellent at, I don't know, sending emails out. But if I say, hey, this is a priority that we get back to this client, or that we deliver this thing to this client, or that we send a gift to this client, and that doesn't seem like a high priority to them, we're gonna be we're gonna be talking in different angles all the time, and we're going to have challenges. Similarly, if I believe communication is really important, and I just think that's getting into details is important, right? If these are things I fundamentally believe, or I think in business, I personally think team and then clients are the top priority for us. And I believe communication and being able to respond in a certain amount of time so that the business is running forward is of high value. It doesn't matter how great someone is at their job if they don't believe that, and they're going to take 5 days to get back to me on something. That's totally their prerogative, right? But we're just not going to be a great fit because that doesn't solve the problem I need to solve in my business, and then we just are thinking about business and we have some value misalignment, which is totally fine. It does not make one better than the other, but it means it's probably not going to be a great fit, even if they have the shiniest marketing in the world, whether it's for their coaching or their OBM services or their virtual assistant services, right? These are the qualities, the factors that really make a big difference. So hopefully that makes sense. I always think, particularly with team, there's so much I really think that I can teach team in terms of skills or the process we use, or that someone on my team can teach another team, but I just know we can't teach values and we can't teach the way I think about business. I can share the way I think about business and see if someone's on board with that, but I can't make someone want to be on board with that. So to me, that is always going to supersede flashy marketing or messaging or promises. Just seeing there's no questions, but if you do have any, throw them my way. And let's go back to the next one. I think that's pretty self-explanatory though. So then afterwards, of course, experience does matter. So some of the things I would be looking for, so if I was hiring a business coach now, one of the things I would want to know is what is their experience? Same with a virtual assistant, same with an OBM. I think in many ways with team, I'm curious their experience outside of business. I don't necessarily need them in the online space in terms of experience, but I am curious if they understand how the online space works. I am curious if they want to be on the online space. I am curious, am I their first hire ever? Or vice versa, am I their first client ever? I want to know a little bit of what they're bringing to the table, specifically if I'm looking for higher level support with an OBM, with a coach, with a therapist, but we're talking business here. I would want to know their experience, and I would be less concerned with how much money they're making, but I would want to know, have they been in business for a second? How many clients have they supported? Have they supported clients like me? Again, do they help solve their problems and meet the needs I do? Do they know how to hold someone at my level of success? I do think that is something that is a little bit different. Have they supported other people like me? These are things I would just simply want to know. It doesn't mean I need someone to have the same business model as me. I do not need someone to have the same results as me. I mean, I'm thankfully not hiring someone new, but I wouldn't care if my coach made less than me. That's not necessarily at all. But I do care. What's her background? What's her experience? Has she supported people? What is that experience? And I'm really interested in our chemistry together. I think this is a little bit of more the intuition gut piece, and it's a little bit to what I was speaking with earlier, was do I dislike this person? Not dislike, do I like this person in terms of, is there a values alignment? But I think this is a little bit different than values in that way, and it's a little bit different than experience. I really want to know if I have chemistry with someone, and I think that is a bit more the gut, the intuition piece. think this is sort of like, if you think about dating, you can have someone that you meet on a dating app who has all of the check marks. They are everything that is right on paper. But then you meet them in person and you're like, oh, this person is exactly who I'm supposed to, like, all of these things. But for some reason, we're just not gelling. We're not vibing. They don't understand me. They don't get me. They, like, there's just something there. And so it doesn't click in the same way. And you want someone who, of course, has the qualities on paper, but what ends up ultimately really mattering is that chemistry. And I think in business, I think whether it's with the coach or with the team, right, there is an actual chemistry there. I think that is a very, I call it coaching chemistry of coaching. I think that is a very real thing. And you just don't know until you talk to someone or until you're on the page with someone. I think, of course, values are part of that experience. Like, there's a lot of factors that go into that. If you like one another and respect one another, I think that's a part of it. I think there's lots of factors that go into it, but I do think that is a very real factor and determining factor that for me matters more than shiny marketing and even more than results in many ways, or than experience, that I would really want to discern. And I had a thought there that I was going to share and it just escaped my brain around that. It'll come back to me. This is why I always offer calls, but that's not what I was going to say. Oh, I feel like it was a good one, but it'll come back to me. But that is something that I would want to really check in with and trust myself on. And it's something, again, we're talking about this from if you're on the potential client side, but this is something on the coaching side, on the service provider side, I'm thinking about as well. And that I'm looking for, do we have chemistry? Do we have fit? This is, I think, the piece that you just can't, like, it's intangible in that way, but I think it is something that is just really so important. I don't think it has to be perfect. I think we want to be mindful, because I think sometimes, especially with like team, for example, it can be easy just to hire people who are exactly like you. And I think we do want to be mindful that we're hiring people who are, again, filling the needs in your business. And oftentimes that will be someone who has a different personality than you. And if you're I have a client who runs a very large multi-million-dollar company, who's the big visionary of it. And a lot of times we're looking at bringing on a team that is sort of complementary and has an opposite skill set, because one of the skill sets, not that she can, but she just tends to think big picture, and we need someone who can implement and who's a bit more of that integrator. So they still want to have that chemistry, but they are going to be not necessarily so similar and so alike. So I think being mindful of that as well can be really important. So those are all things I'd be looking for. But with I'm going to bring us back to the experience piece thing here and piece there. Because I think all of that makes sense. And I do think that's a little bit more the gut intuition and trusting that. But trusting that based on, I think this is the piece I was going to say earlier. I think being really mindful of, is this true chemistry, or understanding the difference between chemistry and shiny marketing or pedestaling someone. I think of this a little bit sort of like when I lived in LA, and people would get really excited by celebrities. And because they were a celebrity, right, they immediately felt something. But that was not chemistry. That was just, they put this person on a pedestal and they were just feeling all the butterflies, which is very different than maybe meeting a celebrity and not knowing they're a celebrity and building a genuine relationship, or meeting someone who you have that genuine clickiness with. I would be very, like, that's a way to just discern the difference between shiny marketing versus really great fit for you on both sides, right? Great fit client or great fit hire. So I would simply check in with that. It's like, is this chemistry? We're really aligned? This is the piece I wanted to say. So the chemistry, but what I'm looking for, particularly with a coach and with a higher level team member, is, do I feel like they understand me? So I think there's a chemistry element of, do we like each other? But I want to feel like whether I'm delegating to an OBM, or I'm having a thought partner with my OBM, or I'm talking to my coach, of course, one of my needs is to be seen, heard, and understood. But I actually want to feel like the way I describe, the way I communicate, the way I talk about things, that they're picking up what I'm putting down. It's something I really strive on sales conversations to do, to really make sure I'm understanding what someone's saying, because I know if I'm understanding what someone's saying, we're going to do great work together if they feel like I'm understanding what they mean. But I also know if there's a big disconnect there, it doesn't mean that we might not be great chemistry in terms of like friends or people that really like each other, but it might not be the best working chemistry, because we're just speaking in different languages. And I do think that's different than values. I think that's just a difference in how we are seeing the world, or how we are picking up or sifting apart or understanding things. And I think that makes a massive difference whether you're hiring a coach or a team member. And I think it's not something we're always screening for, right? We're just looking to see, like, did they help someone make 10K months? Which, of course, if that's important to you, look at that. But I would also be wondering, and do they understand me? And do I understand them? When I say something, do I feel like they get what I'm really saying, or that they want to, and that we can figure that out together? And that, to me, would be more important than, because I know if someone can understand me and we can work together and we have that great, we're aligned on values and we think about business in the same way, we have that great relationship, I kind of don't care what other results you have or what money you're making or what results your clients have. I know that you can help me then blow the fuck up. If you've helped 1 million people make $1 million, but you don't understand me, you don't get my business, you don't understand the way I think, it doesn't matter what you've helped other people do. It's going to be really tough for you to support me on any stage of my business. That is really the part that I wanted to make sure to tie in there. And then similarly, just understanding, to what we were talking about earlier, understanding the difference between true chemistry and that sort of pedestaling people, because I think the pedestaling chemistry, the butterflies you can feel, happens when someone has really shiny marketing. Again, shiny marketing is not bad, but I would check back and see, is this true chemistry or are these butterflies? And if these are butterflies, if I'm pedestaling someone, if someone's shiny marketing is having me pedestal them, can I really drop in and be vulnerable in the way I need to, share the way I need to, express the way I need to, ask for support the way I need to? Or am I in a very different, literally part of my nervous system, part of my brain? That is something, that is actually a reason I'd be very curious about if there is some of that shiny marketing, if it's affecting your brain in that way. Just checking in with that, because the chemistry we're talking about, it's sort of like how I feel with my husband. Of course, there was chemistry on our first date, and it wasn't just about some checklist of like him hitting certain qualities on a checklist, but I also felt like I could drop in and just be fully me, and like we were just both understanding one another in that way. And that's something I would really be looking for, and I don't think we talk about that a lot, which is why I want to bring it here. But I'd be looking for this with team, and I would be looking for this with coaches. If I hire a new therapist, right, this is something I'm going to be looking for, because otherwise it doesn't matter how amazing the marketing is, and it doesn't matter how amazing the results for other people are. It's going to be hard for me to show up to get those results myself. Hopefully that makes sense. But again, questions, reflections, throw them my way. I'm just going to grab a sip of water, and then I'm going to go back to the experience piece. I do think experience matters. Of course, everyone is at different places, and that often depends on their price point as well, though sometimes people with no experience will charge very high ticket. That's not always the case. But one of the things I would be, just to circle back to that, I would be looking for is what someone experienced, and particularly what's their experience with someone like me and with what I specifically need support with. So using myself as an example outside of business, when I'm working with my EMDR therapist for 2 years now, for a long time, since before I got married. Yeah, for 2 years. When I was looking for EMDR therapists, there are lots of people who do EMDR. One of the things I was looking for is what's their experience, but particularly what is their experience with someone who has capital T trauma and the type of trauma I had. And I really wanted to, just even talking about it, just to see like if that was something that was in their zone of genius and wheelhouse, because therapists specialize in different areas, and some therapists, like, they're just going to have a different knowledge and be able to support me in a different way. I also noticed the way space is going to be held is going to be different. It doesn't make one person better than the other, but it is a way for me to look past their marketing. I don't think therapists necessarily have shiny marketing. I think they're very much in integrity, but it is helpful for me. That is a helpful lens for me to sift through. If I have 10 websites of therapists that are all promising similar outcomes and results from a process I'm assuming they all are able to do, it's helpful for me to see what is their experience, and not just experience in terms of like how many clients. I mean, I think that is helpful, but specifically, again, their experience with what I'm looking for in particular specifically. So I find that to be very helpful. And what I would say here, and this is both something I would be looking for and something that would be a red flag to me, is, do they have testimonials? And if they don't, are they okay with me asking about that, with me asking to be connected to someone who will give me a testimonial, who will vouch for them, who will say they are who they say they are, right? Are they open to hopping on a call with me? Will they have a free call with me? I reached out to someone recently, a potential therapist, and they didn't offer calls, but I asked if I could pay for one. And that is just something like, are they even open to that? Or do they shame me? Do they make me feel wrong? Do they feel like that means I'm a bad client? Like, is there some opportunity here where there's some availability to social proof to back the evidence they're claiming so that I'm able to look past their marketing? Because again, we're in a world, I think therapy is not the best example because that's a much more regulated space than our online space, but our online space is very not regulated. So not dysregulated like the nervous system, but coaching isn't regulated. I don't believe the design world is regulated. Virtual assistants, OBMs, right? We are not in regulated industries, which is a beautiful thing. There's, I think, a lot of benefit to that. I think it's why a lot of therapists honestly move into the coaching space. I think it serves us in so many ways, so it's not even to make that wrong. But I do think between that and the saturation we have in the online space, and because marketing does work, and because there's a lot of shiny marketing, and it can be tough, this is why both for you as a service provider, looking for ways to have social proof is really, really important, but also on the potential client side, being willing to look for that social proof, to ask for that social proof, to allow yourself to advocate for that social proof is really important and can make a really big difference in having a great hire. It's literally one of the reasons I want to put my money where my mouth is and offer free coaching sessions when we're able to, because that's a way for me to give you some social proof. That's a way for you to see, do we have coaching chemistry? Are we a fit? Do we think about business in the same way? Do we have the same values? You can see who I am, who I say I am. Do I understand you, right? Like, am I able to support you? Like, all of these reasons, that's literally one of the reasons I do that. You don't have to do the same thing as me, but just so you can see, like, there are ways on the service provider side, even if you don't have a slew of testimonials. I mean, we have testimonials for days, but even if you don't have testimonials, right, there are other ways you can create that social proof and to show you are who you say you are. And similarly for you on the potential client side, even if someone doesn't have a slew of testimonials, right, there are lots of people who are coming more in the corporate space or did something else first, and they might be newer to business, so they might not have as many business testimonials, but that doesn't mean they wouldn't be a great fit for you. But being willing to ask for what you need to create some of that social proof for you around their experience and fit. And not to let yourself be shamed for asking that, because that to me would be a red flag among red flags. The other thing I'm really looking for with all hires, and I've shared this before, but I will not hire someone on my team if they don't send me a follow-up. I'm really looking at how does someone show up in the sales process, and in multiple ways. So I'm looking at how do they show up in a sales conversation, not are they perfect, right? This is all about how do we look past shiny marketing. So I actually am not like, does someone have a super slick call? I love my team members so much. I know at least one of my VAs, I think I was one of their first hires, and I think our sales call probably wasn't like the most seamless thing for her, but I adore her and she's so good at what she does. And the reason I'm saying this, but the way she showed up with care, the way she followed up, the way she let me know she really wanted to be a part of my team, she believed in my business, she'd been reading my content, right? Like the way she showed up in that process really sold me on her over some other people who maybe actually had a little bit more of a slick sales call and a slick sales process. Again, there's nothing wrong with slick, there's nothing wrong with shiny, but what I'm looking for is there care there? Like, do they want to work with me? I know it sounds so silly and so basic, but I think we forget that sometimes on the service provider side, what a difference it makes to let someone know that you actually want to work with them, that you actually care. And for me, that is something I'm looking for. I hope my coach never fires me as a client, because I love working with her. I hope my team never fires me as a client. But I feel like, at least on this side, I'm just pausing because I'm like, I don't want to speak for other people, but I feel like they want me as a client, and that is how I feel, which has me want to continue to invest through them. So that's literally something I would be looking for that matters, again, to me way more than someone's like shiny website or their sales page or like even all the testimonials on their website. Quite honestly, again, I have many team members where I was one of their first hires. They didn't have any testimonials, but the way they showed up in the sales process, they showed me they cared, they followed up, they told me they really wanted it, right? Like that mattered so much to me. The way they were open to respond to questions, right? If someone shuts down, the rapport they built with me, like all of those qualities really matter to me more than shiny marketing. And again, you don't have to think the way I do, but these are the things I'm looking for when I make a hire. Same when I'm outside of business and looking at hires. I'm just seeing our time. Okay, I know I always do this. I get a little long-winded. I'm going to share just a couple other things here because I'm going to pivot. I'm just going to talk a little bit about red flags because those are the main things I'd be looking for. So if that's helpful, like these are just some frames you can be thinking about both on the potential client side, but also as a service provider. And you don't have to do all of these things perfectly. Again, this is how do we go past shiny marketing? And I would look at these also as a business owner, and I would be thinking, oh, like how am I showing up in the sales process? Not is it slick and perfect, but am I letting people know I care? Do I feel like I have to be super buttoned up and pretend that I don't want to work with someone or that I'm like too cool for school? Like, I think these are actually things that really make a big difference, and that really make a big difference always, but particularly right now where it is saturated and there is a lack of trust and there is a lot of shiny marketing people don't know how to sift through, and there are a lot of people saying the same things. These are all ways you can differentiate yourself. But let's talk about some red flags. So red flags for me, and red flags I would just be on the lookout. Now, red flags don't have to mean a no, right? Red flag doesn't mean that, like, sometimes people are just taught horrible things in training programs or in sales courses that they're in, but these are things that would just have me pause and want to check in. It's the same way when you're dating, right? When you're dating someone, there might be a red flag. It doesn't mean it's a deal breaker, very different than a deal breaker, but it's something that you're like, let me just pause before I put a ring on it. So these are some things. I would definitely have a red flag if someone wasn't okay or open to sharing testimonials with me or made me feel wrong about asking to connect with a past client for, like, as a referral source. That to me, if someone wasn't okay with that, made me feel bad about that, made me feel wrong about that, made me feel like that means I didn't trust myself or I wasn't empowered, anything like that would be, I don't know, that might just be a deal breaker, but that would be a huge red flag to me. I would be okay with someone not having testimonials. Again, I told you there are people on my team. I was one of their first hires. They didn't have testimonials. I am totally okay with that. It would all be in the response and how someone navigated that. If someone was like, hey, just honest with me, they're like, I'm new to business and I have this experience, or I don't have this experience, but I'm willing to do X, Y, and Z, or like, I really want to work with you because of X, Y, and Z reason. And whatever the case is, if they were honest with me and we had that conversation, I'd totally be okay with it. But if they made me feel wrong, or gave me a hard time, or were just like a hard no with no explanation, that would absolutely be a red flag to me. And my mind would not be thinking, oh, I'm not a good client. My mind would be thinking, what are you hiding? So again, on both sides, I think knowing that as a potential client, you're not wrong if you want to ask a question or if you want to ask for testimonials or referrals, but also as a service provider, I think just being mindful of that. And if you don't maybe have testimonials, for example, to share, that's okay. But I think just being mindful of how you're communicating that with someone if they ask, so that it's doing so in a way where you're giving an explanation or you're letting them know what else you're available to do for some social proof, instead of making them feel wrong for asking for that. I think it's the making someone feel wrong that gets really sticky and is a red flag, not the lack of having something. Okay, the next one here, anyone who's pushy in the sales process is just a big F note to me. Now, I am really great for someone being confident in a sales process and holding me through the sales process and walking me through my objections and fears, but that is very different than someone being pushy. Pushiness is a big red flag and a big no. So is someone assuming I have money blocks when I have a valid question. If I have a valid question and someone tells me I have a money block, particularly at this stage of business, not that I don't ever, I mean, I'm human. It's not that I never have things come up with money, but when I have a valid question and instead of answering my valid question that is coming up for me because I'm legitimately considering making an investment and someone tells me that's a money block, nothing is a bigger red flag. It makes me want to bounce faster. I don't know if that's the case for everyone, but if that's helpful to hear. The other big red flag to me, and I think this is, again, just how you can see past shiny marketing, because I think these are also marketing and sales tactics that in some cases can work, and I think in some cases can work when, I don't know, I have 7.5 years of business experience and confidence to, I don't know, I feel very like grounded in my confidence in business, and I feel very secure financially. I'm very blessed, but I've been in business for a long time. We've been financially profitable for a long time. So that is also a privilege I have, where that is something that I just know, I have that solidness, groundedness in that. I could also see how at the start of my business, when that wasn't the case, how someone being really pushy or telling me I have a money block could have been very manipulative and maybe might have made me feel differently. And so that's why I want to reflect that here on both the service provider side and the potential client side. To me, that is a red flag. And that to me would be, wait a second, shiny marketing, shiny sales, like red flag, not something I want to look past for a really great fit support. Similarly, anyone who just wants to spend a sales conversation or to DM me or to email me just to tell me all the shit I'm doing wrong and all the things I need to pay them for to fix is just a huge red flag to me. And it goes back to what we were speaking about earlier. If someone, the reason for this is not that like I think that's bad. I mean, I know that's a marketing tactic that some people teach. Again, red flag, not a deal breaker, but I'm looking for what I'm thinking through and what I want to invite you to think through from the service provider side and from the potential client side is, what is the right problem for me to solve? What's the right gap for me to close in my business? What is the specific need I have? Is this person trying to figure that out with me? Is this person trying to identify and help me understand what's going on and really trying to understand me and what my needs are, what my business needs are, what the specific thing I personally need support with are, and then highlighting a challenge or a pain, like a problem that and how they could support me with that? Great, they are doing their job. I'm so here to pay attention. Or are they bypassing us having the conversation to discern what is the thing I need support with, to hear me on that, to understand that, and just telling me the problem they have identified because that's what they sell a solution to? That's shiny marketing. I don't actually think it's very good marketing or very good sales, quite honestly, right? But that is jumping over all of the things that I think actually are really important for a great fit. And it's also just how we end up being sold something that is a solution that you might have a problem to, in air quotes, but might not even be something you need to address. For example, if someone came in and wanted to sell me support with Pinterest, yeah, I technically don't know how to do Pinterest and need support with, or like that is a technical problem in my business, except for we're not on Pinterest and that's not something we use. And that would be missing the whole point if I was having a conversation with them. Or if someone came to me to tell me how they could fix my landing page copy, if that was something I was focused on, that would be great. But if I'm barely sending traffic to my website and that's just something I'm not focused on, right, it's just not a very helpful conversation. And to me, that's a red flag. If someone is just jumping right in with that and not wanting to help me figure out what actually I'm looking for and how this may or may not be a fit. Because what that also tells me, and why that's a red flag, is what that also tells me is they're not really looking to see if we're a fit. They're not really looking to see if I need what they sell. They're not even really looking to hear and understand me. They're just trying to sell what they have to offer to anyone who will buy it, whether or not they really need it, right? That to me is a huge red flag. And so similarly, I think we just get to remember that on the sales side. Are we unintentionally doing that, right? Are we just trying to sell our thing to anybody who will listen? Or are we trying to look for people who really have the challenge or the desire point for what we sell that we can make an offer to because it's a really great match and a really great fit? Okay, I will go. I feel like that's a whole conversation. I could go down a rabbit hole. Okay, other quick things here. I'm just seeing. I always have so many notes, y'all. I'm gonna 5 more minutes here. I'll like wrap up these last thoughts. The last thought I was gonna, like the last few pieces here that I was going to, so there's 2 pieces I want to say. With all of this, the other red flag for me is just if something feels off. I do trust my gut and my intuition, and I think all of us have more intuition than we're aware of. And with intuition, I'm very mindful of, is this intuition because I'm grounded and neutral, or am I in fear, or am I in heightened? Again, like putting someone on a pedestal, that's shiny marketing. Fear, like that's not my intuition. I always want to be mindful when I think I'm listening to my gut to see, am I in a neutral place? When I'm in a neutral place, if something feels off, if something smells fishy, if everything looks right on paper, but I'm just like, I just always listen to that. It's the same with dating, it's the same with people, right? I think that's just one of those things where sometimes you don't need to have evidence to know that something doesn't match up. There's actually a really great book on this. I won't go down all the details, but just in terms of how great and how much our subconscious mind is picking up data points that we're not consciously aware of, that's giving us information. I actually, when I was in college, did research on babies and their facial expressions and true expressions, and sort of think The Mentalist. We were studying facial expressions and what babies make as facial expressions that are authentic before they're societally conditioned to make fake smiles. Or anyway, point being, our brains are really smart. So consciously we can pick up a lot. We can tell a lot about if someone is authentic or not, if someone's lying or not, if someone's happy or sad or not, if someone's full of shit or not. We can tell quite a bit, even if it's not being communicated verbally or in content or in marketing. Our subconscious mind, like, we just pick up these like little, it could be a minor expression someone makes. There's just so much we pick up. You can tell if someone's confident or not, if they're right, all of these things. So those are just things that our gut will pick, or your intuition will pick up on, even if everything on paper looks right. So that's just something I always want to check in with. And again, from a neutral place, not if I'm in a heightened like pedestaling someone, not if I'm in fear. I think those are two extremes where I would say that's not your gut speaking. But if you're in a neutral place and something just feels off, I would say that's a red flag. Last thing I'm going to go through really quickly, because I promised I would talk about this, is the important mindset to adopt as a CEO when hiring, so you're not giving your power away, making yourself wrong, or staying frozen. So just seeing here, but a couple pieces on this. So I think the first piece here is we're talking about how to look past shiny marketing, and we're talking about how to make the right fit hire, and I think that's so important for all of us. And it is a little like dating in that way of like, sometimes you're not going to know until you go on a date with someone, right? You can do all the profile searching and background checks and everything, but you're just not going to know if you have chemistry with someone. You're not going to know what it's like to date someone until you actually go on a date with them. And so everything we're saying here, from both the service provider side and the potential client side, I think these are important factors to consider. I think these are great things to consider, so you can look past the shiny marketing, so you can trust your gut, so you can know, what are red flags? How can you make great hires, whether that's for your team or with a coach? How can you sift through the noise online? Like, what are some of the things you might want to look for, or what are some of the things as a service provider you might want to offer? And permission to date, permission to see you might not get it right, and that's okay. Most people are going to have, different trial options. When we hire a team, we usually do a trial period. I don't do a trial period with coaching clients, obviously, because we want that commitment, but I do an intensive instead of a long-term program. I offer a consultation. I offer free calls from time to time, right? Like, those are my, in air quotes, trial things. Lots of people offer things like that, so permission to try those, but also permission to make a hire and it to be okay, but not the forever hire or the best hire. Just like it's okay to date someone and not to be the person you marry, and that doesn't mean that you've done dating wrong. Sometimes the best way to finding an awesome team member or an awesome coach is having some really great dates with people who aren't your forever coach or team member. And I definitely think part of the reason I have a great team is I've always had great people on my team, but some of them were not the forever team members, and some of the ways I learned what I liked and didn't like and what I want to have on my team came through that, and just seeing like, hey, this is where like there's a great human, but we just see business really differently, or we just have different values in terms of what's important in business, and that's just really great for me to know moving forward. So I want to offer that, because I think otherwise what happens in this is we're like, okay, I'm going to look past shiny marketing. I'm going to find the right fit hire. And I think especially if you're high achieving, I think especially if you've got a little fear, scarcity around money, or if you're a perfectionist, I think this can just be a really easy place to freeze and not bring on support, whether it is a coach or a team member, because you're like, I just need to get this perfect and right. And I think that is just a great way to stall yourself in business and to not move forward. So I want to offer that one of the ways to take your power back is to see it's okay to just make the best decision in front of you, to try it and to see where that goes. And I find when you're taking that mindset, of course, like, have some discernment, of course, take some personal responsibility in terms of, doing your due diligence. But I think just being mindful not to overthink this for so long that you're stalling the momentum and growth in your business, and permission, again, to learn through hiring, and to know most people are going to not have their end dream team is not going to be the team they start with, and that's okay. And because team members also go on maternity leave, and they go on to do other things. So I think just normalizing that is really, really important, so that, again, you're just not getting in your own way and stalling moving forward. So that's the most important thing I would say there, and just really giving yourself that trust and to take your power back and to make those decisions and to back your decisions. So to trust you're making the best decision you can in the moment with the information you have. And it's sort of like dating, right? You just aren't going to know certain things until you actually date someone, until you've dated someone for enough dates, right? Like, these are just things you're not going to know. Same with team members or with a coach or something like that. So I think there's a way in which we can give our power away unintentionally by trying to find the perfect hire instead of what is the best option that I can see right now, and how can I allow myself to move forward to test that out, and to remember everything in business is a test. With that, I think just a couple other things to play with, just to really take your power back again and just make the best hires possible. I think the more you're coming from that mindset, and coming from the mindset of, I don't have to get this perfect, I'm going to do my due diligence, right? I'm going to do the best I can with what's in front of me. And nothing is forever, even if you're in a contract, right? Most contracts have a 6 months, right? That ends in 6 months, and most people are going to at least do an okay job in that time. But also, if you're coming from the mindset of, I'm not looking for someone to fix or save my business, similar with therapy, right? I'm not looking for someone to fix and save me. I'm looking for someone to support me. I'm looking for a whole healthy human to meet a whole healthy human for us to collaborate and to do different work together, whether that's healing work or business coaching support or team support. But I think the more you have that mindset, particularly specifically in business, the easier I think it is to take your power back and to really hire from the CEO lens. What I see through my clients is sometimes the times they're having the trickiest time with hires is when a hire has been made from this mindset of like, this person is just going to solve everything in my business, or this person's going to have the magic secret, or this person, I'm just going to like get to like hand everything over and not have to think about it. And as soon as we do that, what we're doing is giving our power away, and we're not in our CEO role. And I think that is where this isn't even about shiny marketing. I think it's just hard to get the most out of your investment. As soon as you get back into your CEO role, and this does not mean your hires don't have responsibility as well, but when you're back in that role where it's like, hey, this is going to be a collaboration, hey, I'm really clear on what their role is, but also that it's my job to lead this team member, it's my job to have a system and a process, it's my job to delegate, right? It's my job to communicate. I'll use myself as my example with my coach, right? It's my job to show up to coaching and to ask for what I need, and to part of the way I get the best support is showing up in a certain way that facilitates that support, instead of expecting her to figure and solve everything in my business or to be a mind reader. So I think just the more you can take your power back as a client, the more you're going to get the most out of your investments. And I think even then, because I think what is helpful to remember is even the best hires with the most experience, if you're showing up kind of just giving all your power away and expecting them to do everything and to solve everything and to fix everything, and you want to bury your head in the sand, right? Even the best hire in the world is going to have a really, really tough time with that. Even the most amazing, brilliant therapist or best coach in the world, right? They're just going to have a hard time if you're not showing up to bring what is yours to the table. Whole nother conversation. I talk about the 10%, 90%, talk about them in the podcast, but we're not going to talk about that today because I've been going for over an hour. But I think those are just some things to think about that can be really supportive to help you both sift through and past shiny marketing to get clear on what is going to be the best fit for you, to identify those red flags, and also just to see how you can get the most out of your investments. And I think the more you're coming at your investments from that lens, where it's like from that lens of like, how can we collaborate? I am a CEO of my business. I am hiring, yes, for a specific role to take something off my plate or to support me with something, but I'm doing so as a CEO, understanding what that role is that I'm going to delegate versus I'm hoping they're going to save or fix me, right? I think that just changes things vastly. If you're the CEO who knows and understands, this is how I get results in my business, or this is where I'm getting support to get results in my business, as opposed to I expect this person to figure it out for me, it's just going to change so much for you with those investments. Okay. Hope that is valuable for you. I know this is a little bit of a different conversation than we usually have, but I just, after hearing so many things from clients and from people in the online space, it felt very much on my heart, and also just having that conversation with my coach, because I do empathize. I really empathize, especially if you're newer to the online space or newer to business or newer to hiring, whether it's team support or coaching. I think it is just that much more challenging with very shiny marketing and just with how much noise is out there to be able to sift through that. So I hope this is valuable for you. If you have questions, again, you can drop them in the comments. If you have a question that maybe feels like, oh, I don't even know if I can publicly put this because maybe you've had an experience that you're trying to sift through, you're welcome to DM me. I'm notoriously not great at always checking my DMs. I'm trying to be better at that, but just to be very honest. So if you can tag me in the comments, but I'll try to keep up with the DMs. But you're welcome to message me as well if there's something you want support around. And again, if you're listening to this and you're like, I know I'm looking for business coaching support. I know I need support in my business. I would like to make my first 10K month or my next 10K month or 20K months. I help business owners at the starting stage of business, and as well as business owners already at 6 figures, scaling to multi 6 and 7 figures, and kind of everywhere in between. And I'm really great at helping clients with the mindset side of things, all the shit your brain kicks up that gets you in your own way, and really understanding how to think and show up like a CEO in your business. So you're really running your business like a business, as well as the practical strategy and creating a very simple and clear customer ladder, a customer journey to bring in reliable right fit leads, right? The right kinds of leads that turn into the right kinds of clients. So you can get fully booked, you can fill your wait list, you can have really great launches. My clients get excellent results. We've had 28 clients make 10K months or more, 15 clients make their first 6 figures. Many clients make multi 6 figures. 2 clients make $1 million or more, and then I've got 1 client on track for their first $1 million this year. So just to give some social proof myself and to walk my talk in terms of what we're talking about. Again, I think our September spot might be filled or is getting filled. Don't quote me on that. We might be able to open up one more, but we definitely have coaching intensives opening up, and we might be opening up some additional spots over the fall and winter because I think I'm just going to have a little bit more time now that there's not as much summer travel. So if you're interested in learning about those, and if you're interested in having that experience to see, do we have coaching chemistry? Do I understand you? Do we think about business in the same way, right? Is this a good fit? I'm going to drop a link for a free coaching session below. They are first come, first serve. They are limited, so snag those. Take me up on that. There is no obligation, though, of course, I'd be happy to share what those opportunities look like if that's something you're interested in. And then I'll be back next week with another conversation for you all, and I can't wait to see you then. Lots of love. Bye.